Fox or Rockshox? It's a common question that impacts the lives of many mountain bikers. Do they opt for cheaper suspension, or do they go for more of a premium price point for potentially better performance? Now, Rockshox is known as a cheaper brand than Fox. They produce high quality forks and shocks at a much lower price point than Fox, which produces its top quality factory forks at a much higher price point. Now, the battle between Fox and Rockshox has been ongoing for a while. Since before 2000, they've both been making forks, whether that's for motor vehicles or for mountain bikes. And it is important to note that whilst Rockshox boasts some brilliant features, like cheaper price point, arguably better looks for certain bikes, better resistance to muds and damage, etc. Fox also boasts great features with its Kashima coating that attracts many mountain bikers. Its smoother stanchions, as boasted by the company, and its incredibly expensive price point that attracts a lot of people with a lot of budget, because more expensive for some people means better. Now, today we're going to discuss and find out, does the bigger price point just give a bigger boasting point, or is it actually better performing? Is Fox better than Rockshox, or is it the other way around? Let's find out today. Can we end the debate? Today, I've got with me two bikes. First off, I have got my Canyon Strive e-bike, featuring Fox front and rear suspension, 170mm and 170mm. Features the Fox 38 and the Fox Float X2. Both high-range Fox forks, performance elite, supposedly similar to their Kashima range, except from without the gold coating of Kashima. It features the same technology, just without that extra gold hit. Now, if we walk on over to my Nukeproof Mega 275, we have much older geometry. However, we're featuring the Rockshox Super Deluxe Ultimate rear shock and the Rockshox Lyric Ultimates. Now, this fork and this shock, as a pair, are amazingly in sync. Their setup is incredibly simple, but the performance is at top notch in comparison. So both of these bikes are similar to race spec. This is a race spec Nukeproof, and that is almost a race spec Canyon. However, you could argue both could be raced equally in their separate leagues, obviously. Now, today we're going to test, does it help performance? How is the dampening? How is the smooth bump stiffness or energy efficiency? How is the setup? Is it easy, or is it really confusing? Is it difficult to find the right point for yourself when you're riding? Let's jump into it. First off, let's move to setup. Now that we've moved our bike to standing upright, I think it's important that we adjust the first majorly good thing, Fox. Easy access points. So for Fox, we have an easy setup on the Fox 38 right here. This is for our valve, for our air canister, a rebound spring inside the bottom of that valve down there. It is protected and it is simplistic. The fork features simple drainage system. Now, when it comes to the rear shock on this bike, while this is a more complicated shock, it is still relatively simple, featuring simple writing around the low speed compression dial and the low speed rebound dial to try and help people who don't completely know what they're doing with their setup to make it a bit easier. Now, we have our air cap here with the access to the valve, and whilst this is very simple and very out there, I find it can prove problematic when you're riding, especially if you've got longer legs and your trousers can hook onto here which I think can prove dangerous. Now this will depend on the size of your frame, etc, etc. But I feel like this air shock location for a valve is problematic. Now if we flip our bike over like so, now that we're flipped over, we can finally talk about this setting here on the shock. This is our open and close part of the shock. It helps to firm up the shock if you require it, and to open it back up again if you prefer it like that. This is one really handy feature for if you're climbing hills. Obviously on an e-bike it's not entirely required, however it is helpful and it's an amazing feature of the Fox fork. However, on most modern forks you can find it too. We'll move over to my Fox fork. It's currently a little bit muddy from our tests, however it is important to understand it will not perform any worse since I've taken enough care of it. If we move over to the top, we have the grip 2, which is our high-speed compression and our low-speed compression. And if you, while taking a glance at the shock, it will help you set it up easier. I find they work really well in parallel. We have our rebound protected by this little external sector here, the bottom, which provides a nice overall system. Now that's the Fox setup for you too. So now that we're looking at my Neat-Proof RSC, this is the forks. They are Rockshox lyrics, and they have thinner stanchions, yet they, in my opinion, look better on a white bike than my Fox 38s do. On the top we have our low speed and high speed compression. At the bottom we have our rebound. When we have a proper look at it, the fork is very nice and it features a D1 air capsule in it as well. For clarification, this is our rebound dial. Rather than being encased fully in the fork, inside of a little dial, the whole dial is encased and can move freely without having to take a cap off, which is a much nicer feature on the lyrics than it is on the Fox 38s. Still protective, yet more simple. Now, here we have our low speed and high speed compression. It's not as simple as the Fox 38s or the Fox Float X2, simply because it does not have any explanation. So Rockshox has an official app, which is helpful. However, it's not as helpful for simplicity and setup. Now, on the rear shock, we have these lines to indicate sag, which is incredibly helpful for setting up your suspension, something that wasn't found on the Fox, which I feel is a major improvement than the Fox. It's great for setting sag, and you can use your O-ring to help measure sag when you set up. Now, at the top here, we have our air canister, and a very helpful switch here that helps to lock out in that position, and unlock out the shock. Okay, it's time to move on to the riding segment of this video, so I hope you enjoy. It's clear in this section that the shock and the fork compresses very well in and outward movement. As we take off, we have good compression and we have good takeoff with the rebound, with the fork soaking up a lot of things around it. If you look closely, the fork is soaking up a lot of the bumps, which is really helpful. The suspension system produces a pump very easily, and this is really good. It still provides great grip through the sliding and the final section of complete braking. Now here's a comparison. This is me on my e-bike, which has the Fox suspension. The front fork seems to compress badly and not squishy well. For the next section, the fork is clearly not as aggressive and is not absorbing the light bumps, as well as the front handlebars are really shaky and the clear audio difference is immense. However, it does provide good grip off camber and through this pumping section here, although perhaps not providing as much support as it would be better to have from the premium price point. Now to switch back to Rockshox suspension, as we go down this path here, we're going to test over this jump here. Clearly we had a rather heavy landing here. The Rockshox provides great grip through these bumps here and these little ruts, and provides enough stability for the riders to continue riding properly and efficiently. Now on my e-bike, this is really different. We are slightly faster in the upper section, but due to the e-bike's power, and the jump is seemingly much softer than it was on the neutral, and the bumps are much grippier and much nicer. I would say this is great for the e-bike here. Now for our final test, we're going to test it in a simple manner on our harness track, or a more equal track. It provides great grip in the corners, as you can tell. We're going to switch to a top half view because the footage was corroded slightly by my jumper. As we move down the track, we're going to look at how it performs over bumps and ruts, etc, etc. Now we're going to slow this section down here. There's less grip and more rocks, with roots etc scattering the track. The suspension seems to provide an equal and level playing field for the rider, providing enough grip in the right places and providing a lovely surface to ride on. In the top section, the bike seems to perform much easier and much better than the Rockshox, so the Fox would be better in the top section here. However, as we get past this gate here, where it gets to slightly more technical bit, the bike is more shaky and it's less of a lovely platform to ride, decreasing speed and decreasing performance. So for this one, I'd have to say that Rockshox takes the win. So overall, Rockshox are 2, Fox is 1. Now in this particular demonstration, Rockshox has won clearly by overall performance. However, next time we're going to do a part 2, and I'm going to set up my suspension softer on my e-bike and make sure all my parts are tight, etc, etc, and just provide a much even surface. And we're going to try it again and see if it works, perhaps even with a different rider who is slightly better than myself. I'll see you guys in the next one, and thank you for staying along and watching. Part 2 will be coming next weekend, 6:30 GMT, Saturday.